All right, so things are coming together well. The next piece is I want to do some clouds that are going to keep animating in the background. Now, what you'll notice is that as I build this out, and let me do a save as, this is now save as, even though you might not have seen it earlier, save it as number 3. And I keep saving new versions of this in case something goes horribly awry. But you'll notice I'm building these pieces out that I can then use later and do stuff with. Okay. And that's pretty important depending on what I'm planning. So it'll make my life easier later when I'm trying to animate stuff and I don't have 5 billion layers to deal with. And then I can always go back into another composition to tweak it out, which we'll see a little later. But right now I want to do the clouds. So I'm going to import in a cloud texture that I have. And I made this in Photoshop. I'll include it. You could use a photo. The basic idea with this one is that it is wide and it is seamless. So that means, well, for the most part, this edge lines up with this edge. And that's going to be important because I'm going to have it loop in the background. So, I mean, actually, I'm going to be hiding it, so if it's not, but there are points where the edge would be, or where they're meeting is going to be in the middle, and you want to hide that as much as possible. So I'm going to drag it first into my images folder, keep things nice and clean. And now I'm going to take my clouds and make a new composition from them. Sweet. So now I need to animate this going from left to right. So let's say we're going to start it off. We'll key U. Let's click on this, press P for position, and key it. And let's say about 5 seconds in, we're going to take this and we are going to move it. Now, let me undo that real quick because there's something I want to do first. I'm going to go right here because right now my pivot point is in the center. And it might be a little bit easier for me if I click on this little guy and move my pivot point right to there. So it's at 0. It keeps on missing. Let me zoom in. Get over there. There. So it's at the 0 right there. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my arrow. We'll see why. But, so now I'm going to set this, key it, and I want to move it off to the side. Zoom in. And let's move all the way up to here so we can make sure. There. 1920. And so now, oops, jinkies. Let's back it up. So let me move it to 0. Silly me. Move it back to 5 seconds, but now I've got the exact amount. Negative 1920. Bam. That's what I want. Okay, now I'm going to take this cloud. I'm going to duplicate it. And press P. And this one has to, right now it's just a duplicate. There are two images of clouds that are moving on top of each other. What we know is that right here, zoom in a little bit, make sure we're on that frame. See, we're not. This is why you zoom in. And on this frame, it's going to be at 0. Okay. Now I can go back. Let's go to this guy, because right now there's no movement. And this one, I'm just going to say 1920. Bam. Now, if you will notice, the first one went to a negative. If I go to this, it goes from 0 to negative 1920. And the other one basically goes from 1920 to 0. Now, I need these to loop because once I go over here, it just stops. So now we're getting into something called expressions. And so what I do is to get to an expression to type in, there's a whole bunch of expressions you can use. I'm just going to show you the first quick, easy one, which is getting something to loop. This could be an image like this looping going left to right. This could be a wheels on a car that I have illustrated. It could be bird, like feathers or wings of a bird going up and down, whatever it is looping that I want. It could even be a flickering of a light that's just supposed to keep flickering off and on. So it'll take whatever keys and it will just continuously loop them. So on that particular property. So I'm going to go in. Let's do the bottom one first. So I'm a Alt. If you're on a Mac, I believe it's Option. Left mouse click on the little clock. So I didn't get, if I just clicked on it with the left mouse, it would get rid of the keyframes. I'm not getting rid of it, I'm adding an expression. And the expression I'm going to put in is just start typing loop. And you see there's loop out parentheses. Now, if I had in the parentheses, I'm going to hit enter. If I put something in the parentheses, that's how many times it's going to loop. But I just want it to infinitely loop, so I'm just going to keep it there. And I'm going to do the same for the other one. Alt, left mouse click, loop, arrow down, boom. Sweet. So now let's see what it looks like. And it is working. Yay! That was easy, huh? So we've got this down. It's looping infinitely. We are going to tweak it out a little bit. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cloud's composition and I'm going to drag this cloud's composition and put it into another composition. And we are going to rename this one to Final Clouds. And these don't need to be inside of the images folder, so I'm just going to pull them out. This is what happens. Edit, redo, name change. So I accidentally stuck it in another composition. Jinkies. So we'll grab it, just pull it to the bottom, and now they're out. And let's put you back into images. You're being so difficult. There we are. Now we're set. So just drag it to the bottom. Just forget that. So final clouds, double click into there. Here it is here. And we just want to do a few tweaks to this. So it's working great, but we want to adjust it a little bit. So one thing I want to do is let's go in and I want to add, to smooth it just a little bit, let's add a directional blur. And I'm going to increase it, but you'll see it's kind of going up that way. So I'm going to move it to the side and now I'm going to increase it some. You see if I crank it up really high, there now we've got these clouds. They look a lot softer like that. Whereas if it was at 0, or if we just shut this effect off, that's before and after. And we want this to be kind of stylized creepy, so that's fine. So there. And the last couple of things I want, I'm also going to put in a turbulent displace. Ooh, check this out. And with this guy, I can go in and tweak out how much do I want to make it a little more subtle if I want, or do I want it to be really cranked up a lot? That's too much. So we're just going to go back. I believe it was 50. Let's try 40. And we can even increase the complexity if we wanted to. But now it's starting to look more like water. And you can see what these guys are doing. Now, if I wanted to be really like go nuts, I can go in, of course, I can um layer them and have it like layers of clouds, but that looks fine. The only thing I want to do, let me double click on this one. And as I look at these, I just want to slow them down a little bit. So like half speed. So I'm going to move these guys back to about 10. And that will carry over and everything will update. So now if I go back to my final clouds, you can see it's moving a lot slower now. Half the speed of what it was. It was moving a little quick for me. Now I want to, I'm going to want to mask this a little bit. And I'll do it after I bring it in. But right now, that is the clouds. We got it down. And I like the way that's going. And we'll tweak it out a little bit more in the next phase.